available. So Stephen and Ruby, I'll let you take it away. And this is being recorded.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Sarah. It's lovely to be here this afternoon. So nice to sort of be to be part of the LawTech Hub now. It's something which is fairly new for us in terms of Department for International Trade, and working with LawTech Hub and Landon and Rogers has been fabulous so far. So in terms of an experience, it's been really good, and we certainly hope the cohort have found the same thing too. What we want to try and do today is really keep this a fairly short and sweet presentation. It's not going to be information heavy, which is good, especially on a 4:30 on a Wednesday. You want to keep it quite light. But by the end, you'll certainly get a good feel for who we are. And really, the idea about this is, it's planting a seed. Something Stephen said. It's planting a seed about something you might think about in the future. As things grow for you, you might sort of think, what, we're looking to different shores. The UK is certainly a good area to move into, and this also is good for any UK companies. I know there's been a couple of UK law tech companies as well in the cohort, and it might be the opportunity for them to sort of come across too. So we're sort of planting that seed to sort of make that happen as well. So this should hopefully give you that good information. What we're going to do, we're actually going to share a presentation with you. We put a few slides together too. And what we'll do is we can actually certainly share these slides with Sarah and Stephen afterwards. So we're happy for them to go to you afterwards too. So let me bring up the presentation for you and let me know when that's coming through.
That's great. We can see.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So
and I was going to encourage, if you do have any questions, just pop it in the chat and I'll kind of bring it up as it comes.
Beautiful.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Stephen. That'd be great. So what we'll do is start off is really have a look at a bit of background, really how things have moved along, and really what's been the impetus behind the connections between Australia and the UK over the last few years. It's actually down to something called the UK-Australia FinTech Bridge. It was designed to really make things easier for fintech companies on both sides from Australia and the UK to move into each other's market. That's kind of what it was designed to do. Try and smooth the way, make it maybe less regulation, less barriers to entry, and try and actually ease the process. And the good thing is this actually celebrated its 3rd anniversary in March this year, and we're looking forward to the 4th anniversary next year too. But the success really that we actually put together, we could see from the 3rd anniversary, is on the screen. We can sort of see that over the 3 years, we've had 35 Australian fintechs successfully move into the UK market, and likewise 36 UK fintechs move into Australia. So that's been a really big success. Some of those, and many of those, may not have actually happened without the FinTech Bridge being in place. And over the 3 years, we've actually had 35 promotional events. And that could be workshops, seminars, it could be just promotions in there as well. But the biggest part I think we've found as well is there's been 11 delegations and trade missions over the 3 years too. 7 from the UK into seven from Australia into the UK, 108 delegates, and 4 from the UK into Australia with 41 delegates. That's been a really good success over the years. So we're really looking forward to moving this forward too. And Ruby's actually going to mention another element which will really help this in a moment, and that's the free trade agreement. We are sort of seeing that being a real turbo boost for this as well going forward. So Ruby will give a bit of information about that too. So let's sort of talk a little bit about what Ruby and I do, and we'll move on to the next slide.
Sounds good. Thank you, Steve. Hello, everyone. So my name is Ruby Hodges, and I am the Business Relationship Manager at the UK Department for International Trade. So Steve and I, we are based in Melbourne, and I specifically cover Victoria, South Australia and Tasmania for my remit. I'll let Steve introduce himself and his sort of geographical cover when we get up to Steve's slides. But DIT essentially in Australia is split into 2 parts. So we've got the investment team and we've got the trade team. So Steve sits in the trade team and I sit in the investment team. And my work is to support companies from Victoria, South Australia and Tasmania, but I also have colleagues scattered throughout Australia and in New Zealand, and we help those companies head over into the UK market. Whereas Steve and Steve's colleagues, they support UK companies coming into the Australian market, just to help you sort of break it down a little bit for that differentiation. So just to sort of set the scene a little bit, you know, the future of legal and court services is digital, and LawTech, as I'm sure you all know, you all work and play in the space, is really essential for the society, for law to sort of progress. And especially, I think COVID has exacerbated the need for technology, and the need for sectors to sort of, you know, add these components into the work that they do. So there is an £11.4 billion per year market opportunity for law tech and innovation to address the unmet legal needs of SMEs and consumers. LawTech is poised to meet the demand, with almost 200 UK law tech companies attracting a total of £674 million of private investment up to the end of 2020, which also employs 7,100 people. So it's a really impressive size of the market over in the UK, and we're seeing it certainly grow in the UK as well as Australia, and it's really nice to see that crossover and to see the sector evolve. So we see companies on a fast track trajectory of growth, growing at an average rate of 101% over the last 3 years, which has actually outpaced other sectors including climate tech, fintech and health tech. Something also to notice in the UK are the really generous R&D opportunities. So something when you set up in the UK and you start taking advantage of this, you can almost make nearly a 230% deduction on some of those those tax profits, which is really interesting to note when going forward. So also talking about the UK, just in a really general sense, you know, it's the world's 5th largest economy. It's a really rich and diverse market with world-class industries. There's some really attractive locations for businesses, and you know, London obviously is a great hub for law, but we've also got some amazing other sort of tech hubs in, you know, Manchester, Edinburgh, and a few other regions within the UK that you can start exploring. You've also got access to a highly skilled workforce, access to a large and innovative ecosystem, and also that sort of research and collaboration. It's a great aspect and something that you should definitely take advantage of when you're in the UK. There's some really attractive incentives. So how can DIT help support Australian companies that are looking to go into the UK? So we are a free and confidential service. We service, you know, companies that are doing that initial scoping of the UK market, but also those companies that, you know, are ready to sort of jump into the UK and sort of get started straight away, as well as companies that are growing within the UK and then wanting to springboard out into other global markets such as the US or within Europe. So our services really differ depending on the company. So it's really bespoke services. We can help you with anything from visas, setting up, registering your company in the UK market, tax information, recruitment of staff, anything that you need to really help you get set up into the UK market. And this can be done before heading over to the UK. Maybe we can help you with a visit that you're planning now that, you know, thank goodness borders are open and we can head back to the UK shortly. And, you know, we have some project managers in the UK, so they get assigned to companies that are interested in that expansion plan, and they are really there to do market research for you. So they're actually employed by EY and contracted out to DIT, and they can, you know, look at competitors in the market. They can maybe do some salary benchmarking across different regions in the UK market that you might be looking at. There's really a lot of opportunities. We've also got some fantastic tech specialists that we can introduce you to that can really help paint the picture of the ecosystem in the UK, talk to you about how your company is going to land and, you know, how it can grow within the UK market. There's also some fantastic industry bodies as well, which I will touch on in just a second. So Tech Nation is an excellent body in the UK. They put out a report on emerging sort of tech sectors every year, but they've also started to sort of dabble in law tech, and they have produced a report which you'll be able to find on their website, and I'll make sure that I send a link as well on this PowerPoint presentation. They've got something called the LawTech Sandbox, which is a great sort of accelerator program and really aids companies that are sort of looking to navigate the legal system in the UK. We've got the Law Society, we've got the Legal Tech Association, we've also got something called the Investment Atlas, and I'll link this again, but that's a really sort of something that you can navigate yourself. So it's a website, and it just sort of outlines, you know, what's going on in the UK at the moment, whether that's touching on, you know, any sort of Brexit implications, whether that is, you know, making sure that you're ready to go in terms of setting up your company in the UK, as well as some of those sort of nitty-gritty tax information, visa information that you've just got at the touch of your hands to really help you get started. And of course, as Steve mentioned, this is a really actually a lovely photo of our two prime ministers. So the Australia-UK Free Trade Agreement is currently under negotiation. So the agreement in principle has been signed. We're hoping for that to be ratified shortly, and it's going to offer a lot of opportunities for, you know, our two nations. And I think one thing as well to note specifically, the flow of lawyers between the UK and Australia, it's really making that process a lot easier. So it's really enabling that much easier sort of movement of people, but also specifically in that sort of legal sense, which is, you know, proved sometimes a little bit tricky, but making the process a lot easier, which is really great to see. And that is all from me. Please do ask any questions at the end if I can help you, but otherwise I will also be in touch if you need anything in terms of follow-up.
Thanks, Ruby. That's great. And it's good to see the photograph of our two prime ministers, both wearing the same tie and the same suit. They were like brothers. You wouldn't recognise any difference, so you could mistake them. So as Ruby said, thank you, Ruby. I actually work in the opposite direction. So Ruby looks at all the Australian companies moving to the UK. I actually do the opposite. And Johnny, who actually leads the team for financial professional services, is also in this call here today. So our role is to look at all the UK companies in that space. FinTech and especially LawTech is one of the things we're looking at more closely, helping those companies really come out to Australia. We haven't seen a lot of it, so in my mind, there's a really good opportunity for the UK LawTech firms to come out here as well. But we're really here to try and help them settle in, really give them a helping hand, guidance, and any of the support that they actually need to do that too. So essentially, we actually do the opposite of what Ruby said. Mm-hmm. So all the sort of things you saw before about the help, the benefits, and the support that's given to Australian companies moving to the UK, we actually will do and reciprocate that with the UK companies too. And I just want to mention before, you know, we're sort of seeing the free trade agreement as being that real next key. I think one of the elements that I'm actually being asked a lot of questions about across the legal and the accounting side is actually looking at the qualifications. Will those qualifications be accepted? And that's something which has been worked on really, really closely. And we're hoping that that comes out as one of the main features in the FTA agreement. We don't have any more information at this stage, unfortunately. We're still waiting for the finalisation on that, but as soon as we actually know that, we can certainly share some more information. We'll be quite excited. But hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea about what the free trade agreement is at this stage. So what can we do? So what do Johnny and myself do? Well, you know, we look at anything, any inquiries that we get from UK companies, we're happy to help with. And that could be, you know, tell us a little bit about the conditions locally, tell us a little bit about, you know, what customers are wanting at the moment, tell us a little bit about what companies are really looking for. So any sort of general inquiries we can help with. You know, if you're not sure who to speak to, you're not sure what the different environments are like, what the different states are like, let us know. We can help you in there as well. If we don't know the answers, one of the things we'll say is we certainly know somebody who will. Mm-hmm. So we really sort of see ourselves as, yes, having some information and a good source of information for you to work on, but we also know people who can help you too. And that's probably what we sort of really see. So with any inquiries you've got, come to us. If you're not sure, come to us and we can see if we can help you out. You know, it's a nice, easy way to ask the questions. In terms of introductions too, we mentioned, you know, that we certainly do know a lot of people. So if you're looking at setting up in Australia, you know, what's some of the things that you need to know? We know people who actually might be able to help, some companies and firms who can help out too. You know, Lander and Rogers is probably a perfect example of helping UK companies settle and land here, and that's a good example too. But we actually can help with other accountancy style things too. Any PR firms, we know some of those companies too can help you with all that PR information as well. And we're slowly actually growing our lists of contacts too and the resources who we can use too. That's really, really good. A good example, you know, was we actually had an inquiry only recently with a company looking to contact somebody in the RBA. You know, they didn't know who to go to, so we've actually just made contact on behalf of that company only the last day or two. So, you know, there's some of those little things sometimes where you can actually get stuck. we can maybe help and facilitate that a little bit more as well. So, we're here to sort of help and do some introductions for you too. One of the big things we actually do like to hold is certainly events. And that can be in the shape of seminars and workshops. We've got workshops happening over the next month leading up to Christmas too, and we're planning our workshops into next year as well. So we're going to have a lot of interesting information on that too. But it could be just more events actually in the UK. So when Ruby sort of does some events, we could actually introduce you to some of those events too. But actually, when you actually land and actually put you in touch with a number of different companies too, which actually sort of help you get your networks up in place. We can get in contact with the British Business Network, the Australian Business Chamber of Commerce, we've got Tech Nation here in Australia as well. So there's a lot of different ecosystems we can plug you into. Helps you get started and helps you get to build your networks locally too. Any referrals that you have too, we can absolutely help you with that too. So as I mentioned, if you do need some specific advice, we have a number of companies who can actually refer you to. Certainly in the way of all the tax, accounting, the law, any immigration, sort of business development, recruitment, leasing of offices too. And that's one of those things sometimes people don't think about, but we can sort of get you in touch with any leasing companies as well to actually get you into an office, which is the right location for you as well. And also the big thing slightly different to what it is in Australia compared to the UK is the states. We have obviously the counties in the UK, but it's not necessarily driven a lot by the counties. In Australia, the states really drive everything. And they can offer different things as well for you, different models. So we can actually put you in contact with the different leaders and trade offices in the states as well. In Victoria, New South Wales, Queensland, Perth and Adelaide too, we've got those. So if you ever need that, we can actually refer you to those people too. Certainly, this is a good one which covers both trade and investment, business opportunities. DIT actually has a register in place where you can sign up for. And what the register will do, it'll actually help you look at various opportunities that will come up. And when we actually get alerts coming through to you, or you can actually just browse that whenever you want. So you need to register for that first, but as soon as you do, you can actually use that and see if there's any opportunities for you to actually pitch your product, your offer to them too, or actually advertise yourself, and other people can actually come and take up your offer and your product as well. So it's a nice little sort of matching process we can do as well for you. So hopefully take advantage of that too. But that really sort of covers some of the main things we can do from an investment and an export and trade side as well. So hopefully that sort of gives you a bit of a feel for what Department of International Trade can do to help you. I know it's in your early stages for a lot of you now. Certainly when you become an alumni and you've actually graduated from the LawTech Hub, it could be something which you can really sort of think about for the future. Maybe even when you're setting your plans up, put that into your medium to long-term goals too.
Yeah.
There's no harm in talking to us early, in the very, very early stages of scoping out.
Completely agree. Absolutely. And I think we really enjoy talking to companies from that earlier stage because, as you said, Steve, it sort of plants the seed and it helps you build it into your strategy, knowing that, the UK is a great opportunity and there is support. So, yeah, definitely make use of us and get in touch.
But Steve and Sarah, hopefully that covered everything that you needed from us. Any sort of questions that have come up in the meantime, Steve?
Not yet.
That's okay. That's all right.
But
yeah, I mean, the thing is, what we're looking forward to, we're certainly looking forward to the borders opening. I think that's probably the biggest thing we've seen over the last 18 months is just the lack of movement. And it really has probably dampened down the enthusiasm for moving. So I think one of the biggest things that companies looking to overseas like to do is they like to sort of land, go to the country they're looking at, see and feel what it's like. So that's really sort of closed things down a little bit too. And we've sort of certainly seen that over the last sort of 18 months. But with that border opening, we're sort of expecting a lot of activity to start coming up. So, from yourselves too, hopefully you can sort of see a lot of that real activity coming through soon as well.
Definitely. And from the investment perspective, we've been telling all of our companies, a lot of them have sort of set up a virtual presence in the UK market, but a lot of them are also really using this time to sort of build as much knowledge, build as many networks so that when borders do open, they can sort of just jump on that plane, head over there and start doing those meetings in person. we've done a really great job at doing everything virtually, but I don't think anything really replaces being able to go over, especially when you're setting up a business overseas. You know, it's a really big step. So being able to go over and do that in person is pretty priceless, I think.
Ruby and Stephen, we talked about how using this might be a way to get into Europe as well. Has Brexit affected anything with this relationship?
That's a really good question, and I think we're quite lucky in this sort of sense that in terms of the tech sector, it's really easily transferable, and there's not a lot of barriers between the UK and Europe. I mean, there are some things maybe in that sort of life sciences sector that are creating a couple of issues or a couple of extra barriers. But in terms of tech and you know, legal tech specifically, no, not really. There haven't been a lot of sort of issues regarding that, thankfully. But as I said, we do have DIT teams. So once you sort of go over to the UK and you sort of set up that presence, you get treated as a UK entity. And that's when DIT in the UK can help you springboard into Europe, and they're sort of our equivalents into other sort of countries that can really make sure that you're up to date with that sort of local knowledge. And you know, those barriers to entry, they're really important for us as well. You know, they can either help or hinder the companies that we're working with. So it's an equally important role for us to be aware of different sectors and issues that companies are facing.
Good to know. I don't think we have any other questions. Maybe I'll just open it up to everyone that's in the meeting if there's any questions that you have for Ruby or Stephen and Johnny.
Can I ask a question? It might be one for you, Stephen. I'm just wondering, with some of the work that we do with some of the startups focused on legal tech that are currently in the UK, I think you had it on a slide, but I was wondering if you could give a little bit more detail around the work that you would do in relation to pricing. I'm not sure whether that's kind of a service that you offer for people that are looking to extend into the Australian market, but it's something that does come up from time to time. Well, not from time to time, it always comes up. So anyone that's established in the UK that's looking to come over here, it's quite a different market. And we try to do what we can to support that transition, but is that something that you also offer as a service?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. We can look at certainly a lot of research out there too. I mean, that sort of question, again, that's something we hadn't come across. So that first question you've asked then as well, it's something we weren't aware of. And that's probably where it's really good to get the conversations going. And we learn from the questions we get. So that will be something, you know, if that question has now come up. So that's now going to be on my agenda to have a look at the various pricings on that too, because that's obviously a very, very relevant question there as well. So thank you for raising that, Michelle, for us. But that's exactly the type of thing we can do. You know, there's no questions out of bound. You know, what we know, but what we don't know, we'll find out where we can as well. And we've got lots of partners who we can ask, and we can go to some research, you know, and try and do a lot of that for you, because it can be quite difficult trying to get some of that information from the UK over here. So having us on speech at least landed here in Australia, it might make it a little bit easier for us too. So we always try and do our best to answer those questions as well.
Also a lot easier to be independent. Like, it's quite difficult for us to be in the middle of those discussions in relation to pricing or comparisons of other software providers that have got a similar offering, like, obviously for obvious reasons. So that independence is definitely an extra factor.
Oh, and that's it too. And that's why I didn't even sort of say, you know somebody, but no, it wasn't about that. It's about having the independent look too. And again, you know, and what we'll be able to do is a very general approach as well, because often a lot of the technology coming across is very bespoke, or it's quite very, very different. And you know, it's about not necessarily the price; it's about finding the value of that too. And that's probably the most important part. So it's sort of saying, you know, we're not the cheapest in the market, but for the price we have too, we actually offer, you know, all these things as part of the package too. So it's often the discussion I have, and this is outside of maybe the LawTech stuff, and actually on a lot of the fintech and some of the insurtech as well. Not necessarily price driven. Look at the actual value and actually make sure you can describe the value that you're saying for the dollar amount as well. So it's something I like to sort of discuss. Any other questions around the grounds? Well, if you do have any more questions, our details are on the slides. I say we will certainly give the slides over to the LawTech Hub guys, and they can distribute those along with the recording too. But certainly Ruby and myself, our contact details are on there. So certainly drop us a line.
Yeah,
any questions come up today, tomorrow, or 6 months, 12 months down the track. You certainly have our details. So please certainly feel free to make contact with us if you want to. And thank you, Stephen, Sarah, and Michelle. Thank you for the opportunity to come along and talk to the guys today. It's been a real honour for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and great to meet you all on this call. And as Steve said, please don't hesitate to get in touch. We can have a initial discussion just to sort of start thinking through some options. But yeah, please look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. My name's Chelsea. I'm from In Digital. I would love to chat to you both more. I'll just have a chat with Mick and Joe about today's session, because I'm sure we've actually got a few questions for you, but I'll wait and chat to them first.
No problem at all. That'd be great.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Stephen and
Likewise.
Ruby. Great.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a very good afternoon. Enjoy the evening, and we'll all see you again soon.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Michelle, if you stay on a moment, can I just have a quick... Michelle left.
Missed that.
No, I didn't want to leave it too early.
I'll stop recording.